Welcome to Palillo Points. I'm Brandon Strange, joined by Charlie Palillo of ESPN Houston. Charlie, welcome in. Wanted to talk some Rockets with you this morning. Video and images have surfaced over the weekend of James Harden partying in Vegas. And as of this taping, he had not shown up for his first day of individual workouts, but reportedly will report soon. Within hours of that breaking, there were reports of Russell Westbrook being at Wizards practice 2 hours early and, quote, setting the tone. Both guys seem to have these narratives, respectively, that follow them around, and this definitely seems to be part of that. How much of this do you think is just the media stirring the pot, looking for clicks, or is this indicative of that culture of accountability that Westbrook was rumored to be unsatisfied with in Houston?
Well, the media is always desperately looking for clicks, so that's certainly a component. But Westbrook, for better and sometimes for worse, lack of intensity or commitment or to devotion, it doesn't get thrown at him. In Harden's case, I don't know how much of it is just his personality is a little more laconic by nature, but there is the basketball reality that for long stretches of his career, James Harden basically chose to not play defense. When teamed with Russell Westbrook, and for 2 seasons before that, when teamed with Chris Paul, if James Harden didn't have the ball, James Harden would often just kind of stand around waiting to get the ball. Harden, of course, is still with the Rockets. He's been here for 8 years, so it's not paramount that he's here day one. He has no first impression to make. He does not view the new head coach as his superior or as someone he needs to impress, whereas Westbrook's reuniting with Scott Brooks, fresh start for him that he has now with the Wizards. But to take it to one of the points of your questioner or proffering the topic, yes, even though they may be besties and off the court may still be for the rest of their lives, I think Russell Westbrook's problems with the lack of accountability with the Rockets, some of that goes to James Harden's doorstep.
You see players on just different shows doing appearances, right? Like First Take and Jimmy Fallon. There just seems to be some players who play the media game a little differently. But if James Harden played the game with the media differently, gave them better sound bites, how different do you think the coverage of James Harden would be?
Look, the media are not robots any more than players are. I think there's a difference between benefit of the doubt and flat out playing favorites. James Harden has been unfailingly, well, until the last couple of days, unfailingly professional, accessible as required, all practice sessions, not pulling rank on, I don't talk on game day. To my knowledge, never blew off the media in a post-game setting. So I don't think it should be held against Harden that he's not naturally gregarious. I don't know if he's offered what you'd say is funny one-liner over his 8 years here. Les Alexander, when he owned the Rockets, didn't have very good people skills. Wasn't very friendly. Certainly wasn't quick with a joke or a smile. But he was a solid owner for a long time. Drayton McClain, who also was a solid owner for a while before it all went to hell in a handbasket the last few years. But Drayton, unfailingly great with PR and a baby kisser and a hugger and a kind and friendly word for almost anyone he would come across. How much of that the nature of his personality versus strategic marketing? So James Harden's not beloved by the media. It doesn't help him in terms of his coverage. But you know what? Russell Westbrook has also had a long-standing churlish relationship with the media, flat out more negative, I'd say, with more media than Harden has. I just think with Harden and the Rockets, it feels like a marriage that's on the rocks and maybe irretrievably so. So some are going to view Harden as the flat-out bad guy, or that things are stale and James Harden is the commonality. Paul gone, Westbrook gone, John Wall here at least for now with Harden. So there's a sense that if they're going to break up, if you're a Rockets fan, get on with it. I don't want to feel like my team is being held hostage by this guy we're paying $45 million per season who's not even all in anymore if you viewed him to have all been all in previously.
Charlie, I think what's interesting is, you talk about him being gone as an inevitability, and I think many people feel that way. But I do feel like there is a contingency of the fans who look at this and they say, hey, this was perhaps a maneuver by James's camp to kind of spur them into making some big moves. And now the Rockets have acquiesced and they've made big moves. They brought in Cousins and they've brought in, John Wall. Obviously, Kevin Durant commenting on it and saying there hasn't been any talks or he hasn't been putting any pressure on the Nets, that adds towards this conspiracy, right?
Well, Kevin Durant shows tendencies to be whiny and occasionally full of crap. Right? Who thinks that he never, while working out with James Harden, at least ruminated about the idea of, gee, wouldn't it be cool if we could play together and if you can join the Nets? Right? This is the NBA where individual superstars, right, wrong, or just how it is, they have more clout, they have more ability to maneuver pieces around the chessboard than players in other individual sports. Now, Durant was a free agent at the time, but they kissed his ass for years in Oklahoma City and gave him everything and beyond that he could reasonably have hoped, and he turned and left. So that's not directly analogous to Harden here, who has 2 years left on his contract. But Magic Johnson once wanted out of the Lakers. Hakeem Olajuwon demanded to be traded from the Houston Rockets, and they got through it. Scottie Pippen from the Chicago Bulls, a champion. Carmelo Anthony from the Denver Nuggets. LeBron up and left his basically hometown Cleveland Cavaliers. This is just part and parcel of the NBA. Even if it's your best friend, there comes a time, if he takes a big enough leak in your pool, you can pump all the chlorine and filterization. Swimming in that pool will never be the same again. And I feel that's where Harden and the Rockets are about at right now.
If they are, if they're all clicking on all cylinders and really look like, really dangerous contenders in the West, is James Harden still going to be as, motivated to push out? Is his priority to leave, or would James Harden see a good team through in the playoffs with Houston?
I know there's the 7 deadly sins thing, but I think pride, when channeled properly, is a good thing. And I think James Harden, along with a monstrous ego, I think pride is part of it in his performance, that he just flat out lay down during games and spit the bit, be insubordinate. That would be, I'm going to say personally disappointing, because this is big time professional sports. To rule out almost anything would be silly. But if he's with the Rockets, I don't think he'll be as wholly invested as when he was the unquestioned sun, stars, and universe. Daryl Morey cooing at him at every turn, every superstar perk, and then some. I just don't know if they can get the same loving feeling back, especially with Morey gone as the general manager. It's not like James Harden's going to up and retire, but I think his wandering eye will not go away unless maybe the Rockets get off to a phenomenal start. And sometimes spouses who cheat, they get back together and they work through it. If it didn't kill them, it made them stronger. I don't know about stronger in the Rockets' case, but maybe salvageable. But is salvageable really the path toward championship contention? I doubt it.